What is up? It's World Hockey Report Live coming to you on 12 Ounce Sports. How's it going? June 17th, 9:01 local time up here in the Great White North. Cody Jansen with you, and it's going to be a good show. First, got to talk to you about it though. 12 Ounce Sports, they're your home for sports talk radio, and hey, they've hooked us up with Zingo TV. So this is a big one, first time on TV, coming to channel 761 on Zingo TV. If you got one of those streaming sticks or smart TV, you just download the app Zingo TV. Check us out, channel 761, where you get to watch your World Hockey Report every Wednesday morning. 12 Ounce Sports, your home for the best lives, talk shows, and sports broadcasts. You know, you can catch my show, all the others on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, but now you can also watch live on Zingo TV. They've added 12 Ounce Sports to their long list of channels, and if you're on a smart TV, just download the app, flip to the channel 761 to catch all of our live 12 Ounce Sports programming, plus show replays. All you got to do is download Zingo TV, use the promo code 120OZ. It's easy. It's free when you're signing up. It's that simple. Be sure to check out the other latest blogs and podcasts as well up on 12ouncesportsradio.com. Big show today. It's a tough guy episode. Oh boy, excited for a couple of these. 9:20, around then. Todd St. Louis, Screwy coming on, minor leaguer, played in the O, played in the WP, the CHL. He's got some great stories. Then at 9:40, another Sasky guy hopping on the show. We always love that. Darren Kimball, the pride of Lucky Lake, Saskatchewan, former NHL heavy, as tough as they come on the show. Now though, hey, it's our boy Adam Ermintrout joins us as always from the great city of Saskatoon. It's the city of bridges. Kind of weird. I don't think, is there that many bridges in Saskatoon, Adam?
Like a couple, yeah. Like wow. 5 or 6, I think. Might be more.
That really doesn't seem like the city that should be known for bridges, but who am I to judge on that? Adam, what's going on, buddy?
Not much, just having a coffee and chatting.
Better be a Rampage coffee. Hey, we'll talk about them later on in the show. Another partnership coming up, World Hockey Report. We're not stopping. We are just continuing to grow, getting a little bit better each and every day. Adam, we got a ton of stuff to talk about, but obviously the big thing, the Buffalo Sabres, they clean house. Pegula fires everyone but the mascot. What was your thoughts when you saw it?
Well, that's just what they do in Buffalo. They fire people, whether it's the Bills or the Sabres. They just hire people and fire people, and they're still paying GMs and coaches from who knows how long ago. And obviously, a couple weeks ago, they said that Jason Botterill still had his job and all that, but obviously they went back on that word. It's just kind of interesting because I was reading Pierre LeBrun's article today, and he said, talked to any GM, and they said that they'll need 5 years to kind of prove their team, and he only got 3. But to be fair to the Pegulas and all that, like, it was a pretty bad 3 years for Jason Botterill.
In general, though, like, I mean, they cleaned house on, like, the scouting staff. I think most of the hockey operations in general. Like, is there a chance of them actually turning this roster around, or are they going to have to blow it up again? Because in my opinion, it's got to go.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm looking at their draft history here, and it's not like they have a ton of prospects. Like Dylan Cousins is good, Rasmus Dahlin's good, Middlestat was rushed, Alex Nylander was kind of rushed and just didn't pan out, and then you have Eichel. But like, it seemed like they would get like desperate, where they would like trade like their second round pick Brennan Gooley for Brandon Montour, and then they would trade like their third round pick Cliff Poo for Jeff Skinner, and like some of those moves kind of worked out, but like it's not like they would ever wait long enough for their prospects to actually develop.
And I feel like, I mean, they have a good prospect pool, but I think they might have hyped a little too much. Like, I'm not going to rip on Rasmus Dahlin because he's not a stud in the NHL yet. Like, no one, needs to be a stud on day one in the National Hockey League. But I mean, I think everyone expected a little bit more from him, right?
Yeah, like, I think it depends on your team a little bit, but like, I'm just looking at this. In the last 3 drafts, they've taken 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They've taken 9 guys from Sweden or Finland. Like there's good players in Sweden and Finland, but like I don't know why you're taking guys from the same like Swedish junior league. Like is that like I honestly don't know. Like take a guy from like the Canadian Hockey League or something like that. But
Like it's St. Louis.
Guys, yeah, like St. Louis had how many Canadians on their team, right? Like it's not like I'm being biased, but they've taken one guy from the CHL in their last 3 drafts.
Well,
and that was last year.
Is it bias if you're correct? I mean, hey, whatever, call it bias, racist, Don Cherryist, whatever you want to call it. Like, hey, St. Louis won. The proof's in the pudding. I think even Boston had a good amount of North Americans on their team as well. Like, even Americans, so not just Europeans. Like, obviously, they got a couple of nasty Euros, but, like, the bulk of their team is not Europeans. Okay, moving on. I get sick if I got to talk about Buffalo for too much longer. Jack Eichel needs out. I mean, get that guy on a real team, please. Okay, so the NHL, they've kind of come out and they've said, next week, well, they haven't said it officially, but it's kind of expected. Next week, they're going to be announcing the hub cities. Sounds like Vegas and Toronto are the front runners. Vegas, facility-wise, makes sense. And Toronto, I feel like that's just Canadian TV deal. So if Rogers, Sportsnet, if they don't need to be, flying out all their hosts, analysts, all of that stuff, if it makes a little bit more financial sense for them, maybe they told the NHL, hey, we'll chuck you an extra $500,000, $100,000. I don't even know. But like, yeah, for me, I'm locked in on Vegas, Toronto. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, those two probably make the most sense. I mean, Edmonton was pushing it because they have the low cases, but like in a way, it's not like the cases matter a whole lot, just given how like isolated these guys are supposed to be. But like, what is the NHL doing here? Like yesterday, basketball came out with like their full plan and every hotel that teams are staying at, and like the NHL hasn't even announced their hub cities yet. Like I don't know like how they haven't.
Does it feel like they're trying to drag it out to be like, oh, everyone keep paying attention to us, like almost to like keep in the news because they haven't announced it?
Yeah, maybe a bit, but also like it seems like that they're trying to be like reactionary to like the NBA too. Like we're like the NBA is like, oh, we got this, and this, and like this will be set up for our players, and they'll have chefs and all that. And it seems like they're just kind of waiting and seeing type of thing, but yeah, I don't know.
Okay, we didn't touch on Chris Cuthbert to TSN, but before we go there, I got to ask your thoughts because I've seen this scrolling through Twitter, and I know that you might dabble with some ASHL. What's your thoughts? Like rule changes that they're like proposing for men's league are like full face masks, 4-on-4. I don't know if it said no refs or the refs don't touch the puck. Like, is that something where you're like, man, like I want to play hockey that bad that I'm willing to like basically play shinny? Or what was your thoughts when you seen that? Because I'm sure you were pretty pissed off.
Yeah, like in the summer we only play 3-on-3 anyways, and like the ref literally doesn't touch the puck. But I don't know, man. Like the full face shield, you're gonna have like 3,000 ASHL players in Saskatoon go and buy a face mask. Like, how are those face masks getting here? Like, how many of those guys want to spend $80 just like getting a face mask to play for a summer and all that?
Watch them like those like the medical masks or whatever. Watch them like require every player to wear those. That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, like I don't know like why you'd need that. Like especially like if you're going out to go somewhere, then like you're probably not worried about if you have a face mask on or something like that. Especially like if you're going out to play hockey.
Everyone's like going to be like socially distanced. Everyone's prim and proper while they're playing hockey. After the game, it's straight to the Shark Club. No turning around. Outlaws, here we come.
Yeah, they're all like, oh, social distance, but like everybody's going for supper or whatever after. So
exactly. Okay, Cuthbert not to TSN, from TSN to Rogers Sportsnet, gets to call one Stanley Cup game. It's a 4-year deal, or at least one Stanley Cup. What was your thoughts? Like, are you surprised? Are you happy?
No, I was pretty happy. Like, as a CFL guy, maybe a little sad because he did a great job with that. But no, I mean, hockey is much more important and much bigger, and I can't imagine what he's getting paid by Sportsnet for that change, but he's one of the best in the biz. I've heard nothing but great things about him. Um, yeah, he's a great call, and Sportsnet's announcers were definitely thinning out, right? Like they were okay, but like there was no Bob Cole anymore. I miss my boy Mark Lee, who hasn't been there for a long time, but yeah, Cuthbert should do a good job.
Okay, we're gonna close with this because hey, we got a couple of tough guys on the show today. Adam, who's your three favorite tough guys of the NHL, like all time? Like who's your, I don't know, three stars of tough guys?
Uh, well, growing up as an Oilers fan and going to Oilers games, I think like Steve McIntyre or Zach Sortini or like George LaRock. One of those three for sure. And
You
then
just named three right there.
yeah, well,
You gotta pick.
I'll take two. I'll take two, and then a current guy. Like he's not like a typical tough guy, but he'll fight anyone. He'll beat up anyone. Tom Wilson. He's probably. I really like to watch him.
I agree. We're both on the wheel. Is there any like old school, like really old school guys that you like actually like you'll watch a video and you'll be like, oh my goodness, like I can't believe he even played in the NHL.
Uh, Not really. Like the Steve McIntyre, some of his fights and like how large he was. That's probably like the oldest I could go.
Okay, fair enough. Like you didn't like really ever watch like a Bob Probert or anyone like chuck him.
No, I've seen it, but like different time, I guess.
Fair enough. Well, hey, our guest Saskia guy Darren Kimball coming up 9:40 has a couple of great stories to tell, I'm sure. So that's going to be a good one. Adam Trout, our guest this morning, talking Sabres. They're a dumpster fire. Any last words?
No, I mean you feel bad for some of the guys who are like Jack Eichel and Sam Reinhart and whatnot, but it's tough when it's tough when you're on the Sabres.
Tough life for sure. Alrighty, that is going to do it for this segment. After the break, we got Todd St. Louis coming up. Boy, that's going to be a big one. Witt's Nutrition and Performance guest right there. The best meal plans, workout plans, whatever. Hey, if you're still in quarantine, they got everything good inside Witt's Nutrition and Performance. Check them out. Screwies up after the break. What is up? Cody Jansen with you, World Hockey Report Live, coming to you on 12 Ounce Sports. How's it going? Doing all right. Okay, big one coming up here. This is a fun one because I don't want to say I was shocked with how good this interview was, but hey, we love our minor leaguers. And so just the opportunity to talk to Todd St. Louis, it's going to be great because these are the guys who grind it out exactly like our good friends from Wits Nutrition and Performance. You want to go check them out. WNP, Wits Nutrition and Performance. Yes, they have got everything you need when it comes to working out at home. Great meal plans, good workout plans inside. You want to work on mobility. You got something you want to focus on, WNP is going to be the people for you. Curtis is great there. They got unreal swag too. Hey, peep the hat, everyone. Unbelievable. Alrighty, now it's time. This is a good one. Our next guest, you may not have heard of him unless you had to play against him. Todd St. Louis scared the living piss out of guys when he played the Ontario Hockey League, the WPHL, Central League, and even now in Senior A Screw, he had over 100,000, that'd be impressive, 1,000 PIMs in the pro game and rarely said no to anyone. Buddy, thanks for coming on this show. How is it going?
Thank you, sir. It's going good. I appreciate you having me on this.
Hey, not a problem at all. Appreciate you making the time because there's a lot to talk about with your hockey career. I mean, hey, you grinded it out in the minors. You played in some pretty interesting places. We got to touch on that, of course. What was it like growing up in Ontario, and kind of how did you make the transition to the OHL? Because you played like Junior C and stuff too, and then like the Met Junior Hockey League. Like, what was that like?
Look, back in the day, everybody wants, kids to play midget nowadays in Canada. But back when I played, like, either at 15 or 16, you better be playing Junior C or Junior B to get drafted to OHL. And so, it was my midget year, and I was like, I just didn't feel comfortable with the team. I was like, I need to play a higher level, even though I was like a scrub, but I worked my ass off to play Junior C. Think about it. That's weird to say, who works their ass off to play Junior C? I'm 16 playing with 21-year-olds. But you had to get yourself noticed back in those days, So.
And then you make a couple of stops in the OHL. Like, what was your favorite place? Like, you got to play in London. Like, was it a wagon back then too, or what?
No, we back in I played. Obviously, I started in Belleville. And I got drafted. I don't even know what year it was, like 2002, 2003 sometime. And I didn't make it my first year, so I got sent down to Wellington Dukes in the Metro Junior A Hockey League. And, but, you just work your way up. If you want it bad enough, I think anybody can make it, kind of deal. And I was never giving up. I always told my coaches, like, shit, I will play at the next level. Brian Marchment, his brother coached me in Wellington. I don't even remember his first name, but it was Marchment. And I was like, dude, I'm not meant to be here. I'm meant to play in the OHL. And I just, for the year and a half, I just worked it up and just got there. And eventually, I played for Belleville for a year. And just, I didn't play a whole lot. And every shift I got, I just wanted to fight. And that's what happened, And then the following year, I got traded to London.
When did you know you had a talent for fighting? Like, what? Like, were you someone who was like scrapping in high school? Like, I don't know. Like, no. I mean, I grew up as a farm boy, and so like happens once in a while. But
I wasn't that guy. I didn't get out on, didn't want to fight my friends. Didn't want to fight nobody. I wasn't confrontational. But when I was on the ice, it was a different story. Obviously, I'll protect my teammates, and you do what you have to do at those times. And I just like fell into that position. I fell into to be that motivator and protector of my teammates. And I was young, and I'd do what I had to, get a shift the next, 3-4 shifts in, kind of deal.
Okay, juniors are like the best time of like everyone's lives, or at least like somewhat, right? Like it's memories you'll never forget. Do you got any like funny stories from juniors that you can share on the pod? You know, like kind of the boys are so close, right? Like you really will never play on a team with guys as close as 16 to 20-year-olds who are moving away from home, and it's kind of their first experience, in the hockey world.
Well, the stories I could tell you, I don't think it would be appropriate. You know what I mean? You're 15, 16, 17 years old, and everybody knows what a puck bunny is, and they get thrown at you, and you get to meet everybody, and that's all I'm saying. So there's a lot of memories of the puck bunnies. I'm sorry.
It's got
You know what I mean? Yeah, but besides that, you get to play, with like future Stanley Cup champions, future NHL, Ellers. And, I grew up with Ed Jovanovski, and, we played Windsor Minor, AAA together, and we just moved up and went on and had a great career. So it's like that kind of things you think about, I met these guys, I played with these guys, and that's an amazing thing, to meet people that played in the NHL. We all wanted to be there one day, but, some can't be as fortunate as others. And that's what I look back and think about. Like I played with Richard Park, Craig Mills, guys that played in the show, Random Bichadik, Ed Jovanovski, DJ Smith, now coach of Ottawa Senators. Just that's what you look back and think man, I wasn't doing too bad at that time. You know what I mean? If you're playing with those kind of caliber of people.
Who was the best player you ever played against? Like, doesn't have to be somebody you played with, but was there one player in junior? Who?
Man.
Oh, okay.
The most physical person and dominant person I ever seen was Todd Bertuzzi.
Yeah.
And he played with Jeff O'Neill those years, but Todd Bertuzzi could dominate games, and it was unbelievable to watch. It was unbelievable to sit from the bench and watch that man play. Even though he was a kid at that time, but he was built like a man. It was unbelievable. You know what I mean?
He could be one of the, I'm not going to call him underrated, but I mean, aside from that incident that obviously, kind of taints his career, man, he was unbelievable. How good he was for Vancouver in those days. It was stupid.
Yeah. And you know what? People, you take a blemish and people remember him from that.
Exactly.
But if you walk him from junior to pro, man had a great career. I'm sorry.
Oh no,
he was dominant. He was a man before he was a child man. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And it's fun to watch those type guys. You play against and watch to do what he's done. And you know what? Yeah, we all do stupid shit on the ice. We all make mistakes, but that's part of hockey. It's an accident. I consider that an accident. He didn't mean to hurt him. He just wanted to fuck him up a little bit, let him know he was there. He didn't mean to physically hurt him. I guarantee it.
Hey, shit happens in the game, and I mean, I think everyone kind of knows some of those risks. That's for sure. I wanted to ask you though, how did you get down to the WPHL after that? Being a 20-year-old making the pro ranks. I was a goaltender, so it was easier for myself. You don't really need to be big, strong, or anything. But how did you even get down there? Who found you? How did that work?
Oh, I don't remember. I had, I was my overage year, and when I played for Windsor Spitfires, I was supposed to go try out for Toledo, the Storm, and I turned it down and went and played Junior B for a year. And I played for a fellow named Wayne Gruhl. He was all-time leading scorer in the OHL. He was my coach. And that following year, we went to the finals in the Sutherland Cup that year, and we lost. And he just was putting out the invites for me and stuff like that. And I finally got on to in Lake Charles, Louisiana. And I didn't last there but 2 games, but they released me. Then Fort Worth Brahmas found me.
Well, I seen you didn't have any PIMs in Lake Charles. I was going to ask about, is that how they shipped you out? They were kind of well, if he's not going to fight or, run guys over, we can't have him.
Yeah, I didn't get the opportunity because I had 2 games. I went in there. They put me in a out for like a month, and it just didn't work out for me. I was overweight. I was, that summer I just like pushing weights, and my cardio wasn't there, and I think I was slow. I was trying to beef up, and it didn't work out for me. And so after that, I never worked out a day in my life.
What was the league like though in general?
I spent the last 5 years of playing pro, never worked out. Yeah, I did cardio and stuff like that, but
When you're forced to.
You know what? They don't want me beefy. I'll be lanky and like crazy. You know what I mean?
That's hilarious. What was the league like though? Like, man, like, I mean, I got to play down in Texas, some southern markets there too. Like, it's a different hockey atmosphere. Like, the game's not the same. Like, I mean, for me at least, like, you're playing in an empty building of 6,000 seats. So, it's quieter. And then there's also the markets that are just mad. Like, Corpus Christi has always had a weird hockey following. Like, you played down in like Arkansas and stuff too. Like, was there like a favorite market or like what was the, like, what made the league actually tick?
The thing is, like, you might have a 6,000 seat barn, but when I played in Arkansas, we had 2 good years. We get like 3,500 fans there. We didn't pack it, but we had good fans, and we were the first like professional team, obviously hockey team there. Then Riverblades had to come in like ruin it for us. But anyways, I think they'd have a good NAHL team if someone would buy a team and move it there. But anyways, you depends where you are. When I played for Amarillo, we had a 5,000 seat building, and we put like 3,500 like legitimately every fucking night.
That's impressive.
And back in the days, we're talking like 16 years ago, and people wanted. Hockey was new to this area. People wanted to watch fights, and back in those days, we delivered those fights.
You played against some tough customers too.
Yeah, it never. People don't realize how tough the WPHL was in the early years of the CHL when they merged. How many tough guys we had? I guarantee we were as tough or as tougher as the Quebec League back in those days.
Okay, there's 2 guys that I seen that you played against. I wanted to ask you about them because they are Berta boys. There was Sean Legault and Chris Waltz. Now, I know you were up there in penalty minutes. Like, I'm assuming you fought them, but like, who? Like, I mean, if you did, you had any funny stories? And if not, who's the toughest guy you fought that league?
The toughest guy I fought? Oh my God, I don't know. Probably Alex Stojanov.
That sounds foreign.
He wouldn't let me throw a punch, and he just manheld me. He was a big man. First rounder, Vancouver Canucks. And he was playing for New Mexico. And I think I was playing for Amarillo at the time, the Rattlers. And he just fucking manhandled me. Like, shit, I can't even throw a punch. And he just ragdolled me. Just lay down, boy.
Where was your favorite place to play? In like, the CHL or the WPHL? Like, did you have one place, like, you said, Arkansas, packed the barn stuff. Was there like one place where you're like, that's my favorite memory of playing?
Well, obviously, it's going to be like Arkansas. I spent 2 years there. I had 2 good years there. And I was sad they folded. I would have spent my life there. I would have retired there. But, that's how it happens, like minor league hockey is like they show up, they fold. It's sad, really. You know what I mean? Because we had a good fan base, and who knows what it could have been? Just.
Hey, it's tough to run something profitable. It's tough. I can't imagine being an owner, like, just the amount of marketing and stuff, especially in Texas. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was tough. I guarantee it, but. It's a new sport at the time, 20 years ago. And they're promoting it, trying to, like, make people believe in it. And they had a lot of, like, fans that believed in it, but just not enough to make it profitable, I guess.
Screwy, looking back at your hockey career, I mean, you had over 1,000 PIMs. there's a lot of guys who I feel, maybe aren't as appreciative or, like happy about their career as possible. But if you could go back in time, like, are you happy with it? Are you satisfied? Like, man, I mean, you got to play in some cool places. You played hockey for a living. Like, you got to, travel the world playing the best game. Like, is there anything you regret about your hockey career?
You know what? Like people talk about regret. You know what I mean? I grew up playing for Windsor Club 240. I was never the greatest player, but I worked my ass off. No one thought I'd get drafted to OHL. No one thought I'd make the OHL. And no one thought I would play minor pro. And I did everything and more what people thought I would do. And I don't regret a minute of it. And I'd do it all over again, just how I did it.
There's nothing better than just sticking it to those people. Like the losers who are like, oh, you're not going to do it. Like, shove it.
No, I don't regret nothing.
Okay, now you're obviously down south still, but you're playing senior hockey. You made a comeback out of retirement. What's that like, like the MWHL? Like, I mean, we got senior obviously up here and stuff. Like, the AAA is a little bit different, but like, what's it like? Like, is senior hockey like thriving down there?
I get out in the ice and watch these kids like buzz around, and there's me, the old guy, the oldest guy in the league. You know what I mean? And they're just buzzing around me, and I just try to put my 2 cents worth in and give them like motivation, give them like little knowledge. I'm there for
player coach.
I'm a vet. I'm like pretty much I'm a coach, and they love being around me, and I love being around them, and it's made me feel good. My kids got to see me play. Yeah, I didn't get to play much because I got suspended half the year, but
What did you do? What did you do to get suspended? Who'd you beat the shit out of?
Well, some guy like dummy, like I was in front of my net, and I cross-checked this guy in the back of the head, and then he fucking cross-checked me, and I chased him all the way down the ice, and like begging him to fight,
boy.
and would fight. And finally, I got in front of him, and I gave him a good left, buckled him, and the ref jumped in, and I grabbed one of the refs, and I threw the ref out of the way. It was like, grab my neck. I was like, you don't do that shit. Come on now.
That's
so
funny.
I got suspended for abusing a ref.
I mean, fair enough. But hey, at least you got one whack in on the kid. He'll learn his lesson.
Right. Yeah, they didn't know what to do.
Todd, man, I appreciate you taking the time. I'm sure you've got stories for days, but yet again, thanks so much, man, for hopping on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you, hit me up and want to chat with me. It's always good to reminisce, you know what I mean?
Todd St. Louis, what an interview. You would not find a more willing combatant in the sport of hockey. That guy, oh man, I've heard the story, so it was unreal that he was willing to come on, because everyone who's talked to them, including our next guest, or who's played with him, including our next guest, Darren Kimball, played together in Arkansas. Man, this guy was a warrior every single night. Doesn't matter if it's the OHL, the CHL, the WPHL. Man, he brought it. He was bringing the energy. Fans loved him. So unreal. Big thanks, Todd St. Louis, for jumping on that interview. Of course, brought to you by Witt's Nutrition and Performance. Best meal plans and workout plans out there. Already, big guest coming up after this one for my bookie. It's a good Sasky guy, Darren Kimball. After the break, it's World Hockey Report coming to you live on 12 Ounce Sports. World Hockey Report live coming to you on 12 Ounce Sports. 9:37 local time, June 17th, up here in the Great White North. How's it going? Cody Jansen with you. What an interview, Screwy. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. Coming to you live, 12 Ounce Sports, and now Zingo TV channel 761. Before I get to my next guest, going to tell you guys about MyBookie.ag. Sports are coming back, and if you want to get in on the action, MyBookie.ag is the place to be. They're going to match your deposit up to $1,000 when you use promo code 12 Ounce Sports. That's 12OZ Sports, all caps, no spaces, when signing up on MyBookie.ag. You don't want to miss your chance to cash that ticket during the NHL and NBA playoffs. With our help from your friends at 12 Ounce Sports, use promo code 12OZ Sports, that's all caps, no spaces, when signing up on MyBookie.ag to get your deposit matched up to $1,000. Yes, that is legit. $1,000 they're going to match. Pretty impressive. Who's going to say no to that? Our next guest, well, now we got the man. Chuck Bales in Saskatchewan. Iron Fists. I mean, one of the toughest to throw down. Pride of Lucky Lake, Saskatchewan. Yeah, played right up by there. Kyle, pretty close. You know what? He went on to play over 300 games in the big league. That's not bad. Totaled well over 2,000 penalty minutes. Yep. Fought the toughest to ever lace him up. Darren Kimball. Wow, this is a good one. Joins World Hockey Report this morning. Kimby, how is it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad. The Pride of Lucky Lake, Saskatchewan. Is that where you call home still?
No, I do call it. That's where I grew up, so that'll always be home to me. But I live down in just outside of St. Louis in Granite City now, so that's my home now. But yeah, Lucky Lake was where she all started.
Not a bad place to retire. We got to talk about it. I mean, playing in Saskatchewan, you grow up tough. There's no other option. I mean, especially if you're growing up on a farm or a small town. Lucky Lake will do that to you. You played in Swift Current, though. I mean, that's got a soft spot for me. The old SJHL, that was tougher than nails. Like, when you started your junior career, like, were you, 16, 15? And, like, I mean, and you were putting up penalty numbers.
Yeah, you know what? I started. I went to Swift Current to play for the Legionnaires, and Lauren Fry, he was the coach there, and so Lauren, I come from. I was playing over in Elrose. I get to Lauren sees me, and I end up in Swift Current playing for the Legionnaires. I played for a year there, and then Patty Janelle, who he come to town and he put in the Swift Current Broncos, the Indians were called, in the SJHL. I call the Broncos because my brother actually had played for the Broncos way before I did. So, but anyway, that's where I tie into there, and I probably would say that team there was the toughest team I've ever played on. Patty just assembled a team of tough guys that that we knew how to fight, and we had a couple of players, the late Scotty Kruger and Trent Cressy, who were on our team, and they're hell of a players, and God rest their soul. But they were the guys that scored the goals, and everyone took care of them.
Yeah, what a place. That's funny, Legionnaires. I didn't even know they were still around. Like, that's, I played midget trips there as well. So, hey, your last year of juniors, you're in PA. What a place for one. I mean, but you had 307 penalty minutes and 35 goals. Like, I mean, is that, like, unheard of? Obviously, like, you're a Quebec Nordiques draft pick, but, like, what just clicked for you that year? You just kind of like, I'm older, stronger than everyone. I'm just going to do whatever the hell I want.
Well, it took some time to get there, though. But because when I was playing, our rival was the Blades, and Tony Twist was there, so I was fighting Tony Twist. And I think if you fight him as much as I did, and we had a lot of good fights, I think people would give you respect and give you a little bit more room. And we had a good team in Prince Albert. Mike Modano was there. He was just getting going, and Kevin Todd was there. Richie Pilon, Sean Byram. We had a lot of guys that ended up going on and playing in the National Hockey League for a little bit. And,
good Sasky boys.
Pat Oliniak was there. Yeah, and Rick Wilson was probably the first coach, not the first coach, but when I got into the Western Hockey League, Rick Wilson actually gave me a chance to play hockey. So we were out there playing, and I was fighting quite a bit. Those are pretty good numbers. I put them up against anybody because I had like 70 points, 35 goals, and those 300 minutes I get, they're not counting 10 minutes back in the day. We're putting, I probably had 35 fights at least that year.
That's classic Dubs too. Yeah, no tens. Were those kind of the times too where it was only one team warming up at a time, or was that more in the '90s?
No, we took that on. My last year, they started doing that with me, and so we went. The first part was both teams on, and then they went to that one for a while, and that was just crazy.
Yeah, you're warming up 45 minutes before the game.
Yeah, just absolute stupid. Doing full length drills on the ice, and that made no sense whatsoever.
That's hilarious. Then right away, right out of juniors too. Like you go to Quebec, and you 3 goals in 26 games, plus you can chuck in another 149 pims. What was that like? What was your welcome to the NHL moment when you're like, holy shit, I finally made it?
Well, I went there in an exhibition or in training camp. Actually, I fought Gord Donnelly, who was the Quebec Nordiques tough guy, and I did really well with him. I fought him twice actually, and I did pretty well. And then I went through the exhibitions things, and I think we played maybe 8 games, and I had 9 fights in that period of time. And then at the end of this training camp comes, and when you get to the NHL, there's certain people that got one-way contracts in that. So I was on a 2-way. So they first, they were going to send us down, and we ended up going down to Halifax, is where I started at. And it took me a while to get accustomed to it. I wasn't really thrilled about being down there, but the coach, I really wasn't getting along with him either. And then finally, around Christmas time, everything started clicking for me, and I started fighting. I had 3 games in a row where I fought the 3 tough guys down there in the minors and did really well. They called me up, and my first game I had 2 fights and a goal, and in the National Hockey League. So it's I just when that happened, it was quite. You expect to get maybe 3 shifts in that period. Now I got 2 fights and a goal, so I was pretty pumped for my first game.
Who was your first goal on? How did it happen?
It was Sean Burke. We were playing New Jersey, and they weren't very good at the time. I was in Quebec, and Joe Sakic and Joe was getting going, and he was just starting out. But they had all kinds of young talent. We just didn't have there wasn't a core there to form around. So they had to wait for Joe to get in the business for a while, and so we were playing New Jersey, and the Nordiques we'd been struggling, and it's we were up probably I think by 4 goals or something, and I get a pass from Jaromir Yuri is his name. Jeff Brown gave it to him. Jaromir Yuri passes to him, and I went in on a breakaway, and I faked the shot and took it to my backhand and scored. So I don't know if Sean Burke will ever. That might have been the end of Sean Burke.
highlight reel right there. What was it like playing with Stastny as well? Because he was on that Quebec team.
It was really good. But I'll tell you what. Growing up in Canada in Lucky Lake when I was a young kid, the Montreal Canadiens were. They were the top team. That's when they were winning all the Stanley Cups. That's when Scotty Bowman was there, and I was a big fan. Guy Lafleur was my hero watching it when I was growing up. So we're, all of a sudden here I am, and I'm playing in the National Hockey League. I get up there, and I look across the dressing room, and Guy Lafleur sitting there, and so I'm actually playing with Guy Lafleur. So I'll tell you, my first year pretty well. I could have retired and been done with that, but I accomplished a lot. I made the National Hockey League. I was playing with my idol. And it was just amazing,
How many darts did that guy smoke during games?
Yeah, he was that's old school hockey though. It's the game's changed so much from when it was, but yeah, he would go in the back and he'd have a couple cigarettes, and it was just. But I'll tell you what, you wouldn't be a nicer guy, man. He would do anything for anybody. Would everything that I thought the man was, and how good he was on the ice, and he was just that off the ice. So that made it even more enjoyable.
That's hilarious. No, I think everyone who's met him really has nothing but good things to say about him. He also made a few other stops, obviously, he played St. Louis, Boston, Chicago. Where was your favorite place to play? Obviously, Quebec's kind of a little bit of nostalgia, being the team who drafts you your first game, but, was there, a favorite barn or city that you played in?
You know what? I get asked that question, and and this is an honest answer. I loved every one of them because, when I was here in St. Louis, I was there when Brett Hall was there, and he had the 87 goals. So that was you got to enjoy that ride, watching Holly score all the goals. And Boston was, I enjoyed being there. Cam Neely was there, Adam Oates was there, Ray Bourque was there. So you're playing with a bunch of guys. And then when I was in Chicago, the Chicago Stadium was there. So there's probably never been an arena like that in its world when the national anthem was played. It was so loud in there. It would just get, you had goosebumps going through your body. So I really did. I enjoyed every bit of all of them, and I can say nothing but good things about them.
Who was the best player you ever played against? Who was the guy who that, like, if you were lined up against, you know, you're kind of like, we're screwed. This is a minus already. Like, I shouldn't be on the ice.
Well, but I get going when, probably Gretzky and Mario Lemieux, but now I'm not really playing against that because we got checking lines going and all that stuff, but to watch them play, like Mario was around and Wayne was around at the time, and I'll be honest with you, watching like Brett Hall, Chris Chelios was an unbelievable defenseman that I really enjoyed. Adam Olds was I was very fortunate to play with a lot of good hockey players, but watching Holly play that year when he scored 87, that was pretty remarkable what he was doing.
Ridiculous. You had 7 goals, which I think is your career NHL high in Boston. Like, what was clicking for you? Was it just something where you're like, man, like just everything, I get around the net's going in, or what?
Yeah, you know what? It was so weird because that year when I went to Boston, I was traded in the summer, and I took off to Boston for training camp, and I drove about 16 hours. I woke up the next morning, and I get going on the highway, and about 30 minutes down, I get in a car accident, and I broke like 5 bones in my hand. My right hand, it went through the windshield. I'm pretty realistically, I'm lucky to be alive. But the car was totaled off, and so I get to Boston, and I had to have surgery, so I missed the first 2.5 months, and I'd been sitting there, and it took about 10 weeks for my hand to heal. And then I went down to the minors just to get conditioning going for a couple weeks, and then they called me up, and things were just going good. You're shooting the puck. I had a shooting percentage probably going about 33% at one time. I wasn't getting, you didn't get a lot of shots, but every time you get a shot, it was going in the net. It was amazing. What's that?
You're competing with Hully with that, with 87 goals, 30% shooting.
And I'll tell you, and it was so because I had it was a good year we had in Boston. We ended up losing out in the playoffs to Buffalo, which was kind of sad because Buffalo, they swept us, but every game went into overtime, and that was when May scored that Mayday goal. But I really enjoyed my time in Boston, and my contract was up. I wish I would have stayed there, but contract time comes around, and I ended up signing down in Florida. But I wish I would have been in Boston just to stay there because I had a good fit there.
That's unreal. All right, enough goal scoring talk. Hey, you were one, tough son of a bitch out there. Who was the toughest guy you ever fought? Because I know you went toe to toe with the heaviest of them.
Yeah, I think that, in all honesty, I always have to say Bob Probert was, just because he had to fight everybody every night, and when I mean Bob, I'm talking about when he was in Detroit, not so much as in Chicago, because I think in Detroit he didn't lose very often, very rarely, and he had to go every night with every tough guy, and so much respect to him, the way that he did that. But he was playing too. He was getting to play. He made the All-Star game at one point in time. So, that's he turned himself into a good hockey player. But he's one tough man. And then I'd probably say Tony Twister was probably right there too. Twister was when Twister got in the NHL, he got pretty big, and he threw big punches. And I have all the respect in the world for him because I fought him about 8 or 9 times. So there's a big respect factor with him. He did his job. Tough guys was a big, in my time, there was a big role to be played in the National Hockey League, and Twister, he understood his role, and he played it, to the finest you could play it.
Did you play with Twist in St. Louis?
No, I got traded for him. He was in St. Louis. He was actually down in Peoria at the time, and I was in Quebec, and so when they traded us, Twister went to Quebec, and I come to St. Louis, and then when I left St. Louis, he eventually comes back to St. Louis, for a couple of years, and that's when he had his motorcycle accident. So he was, but yeah, I never played for him. I got traded for him though.
Jeez, I was gonna say that must have been funny if you would have got to play with him after you guys going toe to toe in PA and stewing all those years. Darren, you also spent, time after the NHL. You jumped around the minors, and you got to play in some unbelievable places. Like playing hockey in the South, there's absolutely nothing like the fans in Texas, Arkansas, places like that. Like, was there a place, IHL, WP, American League, Coast, U-Haul, whatever it was? Like, was there one place that really stuck out that you're like, that was pretty fun?
I got, when I was in Arkansas, and I also played for the River Otters here, just outside of St. Louis. It's a little suburb. St. Charles is where they had them. But when I got out of the NHL and I got out of the International League, because in Kansas City I enjoyed it. I had a good year in Kansas City, and then I got traded away. But the good thing about playing down there, the fans were really into it. But I got to play hockey again, and I got to play a regular shift, and I was, you play the power play. in my last year as a River Rockers, I scored 30 goals. So I was back to where how I started up in junior, and I finally got back to where I was at. And I didn't have to fight as much down in the minors. I pretty well did all my fighting in the NHL, and I think the respect I got because of the name I had. So I didn't have to deal with that very often, but I just got to play the game again, and that was the only thing about when you play in the National Hockey League. There was a role that you had to play, and which lucky it was there because you got to play in the National Hockey League. But there was a role you didn't get to play a lot of hockey, and so going down to like Arkansas and that, playing with the young kids that are coming up. Getting to play the game again was, I enjoyed that. It was just fun. There was a lot of fun to be had.
Well, your last 3 years in Missouri with the River Otters, I think you had like 120 points or something. So yeah, that works out all right for you. That's not bad offensive numbers. Yeah. Okay, I had to ask you though. You played in Arkansas as well. We just had Screwy on, Todd St. Louis on. What was he like? Because he was, crazy. If I could put that in one word.
Yeah, Screwy was well, he's a kid that's dyeing his hair every other day, but he was so full of piss and vinegar. He was just getting going when I was there, and he was a young kid that wasn't playing a lot, but he was he would fight anybody, and he had some hard knocks. But he learned the hard way, and he gets tougher as he goes along the process. And he started out, but he was always a gamer. And Marty Melnichuk was there too. Marty was a pretty tough kid for a guy coming up in that played down in the minors. So you had Marty and Screwy running around, and they were taking care of all the fighting at that time. But just guys, just to watch guys like that they're not making a lot of money, but they're playing for the fun of the game, and you could see just how much they enjoyed playing the game of hockey and having fun. It was like their kid in the candy store. They were just. It was just an enjoy to watch and be around. It made you feel younger when you're playing with those guys.
Oh, a real passion for the game. I think that's probably the best way to put it. Was there anyone in those minor leagues who didn't know who you were and you had to tune them in? Like, was there like just some kid running around who didn't know that, you'd gone toe to toe with the Twists, Probert, guys like that, and you just, cleaned the clock?
You know what? The only time that I ran into it, I ran it when I was in Peoria, and I wasn't having a good. I went to Peoria, wasn't playing much, but a guy named Jason Payne, he caught me off guard and he fought me, and I screwed my knee up, and I had to go through rehab. I didn't get surgery, but I had to go for rehab for like 2 months, and the whole time I thought about him coming back because I was coming back for one game no matter what. And then I come back, and I believe I break his nose in the next fight, but it was it was just that stirred up the emotion. I had to sit for 2 months on trying to rehab that knee just to get back to where I had to get back to show the guy what I had,
Oh, man. Hey, we're taking up a bunch of your time. You got one funny story to wrap this one up, playing hockey down Arkansas, Missouri. Was there one funny story from the minors that was kind of like, that's just hilarious, or something that's not common, especially you're playing the NHL or the American League?
I don't know. It just there was a bunch of young kids that I always, it goes back to when I was in Halifax. There was guys Greg Smith, and he was one of my friends, and Bird Dog, he's passed on also. And but we would, it was just a bond that we had on the ice. The hockey bond has always been, the family has always been stuck together. So you go to bars, and sometimes you get in a little bit of trouble, and fights are starting to happen. But you always stuck together with each other, and and then you come back and you tell the stories in the locker room how that happened, and so I don't really got a story that's going to stick out to no one, but I miss the times those are the times that were the best. It wasn't just playing the game of hockey. It was coming and listening to these young kids tell stories, or you tell stories of what went on, and it was just that was the world of hockey, and that was what I enjoyed so much.
Well, Darren, hey, I love how you reminisce on the game. I mean, you got good memories from it. That's always the best. There's nothing like that. So thanks so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
You betcha. No problem. I always like talking to the boys from the great province of Saskatchewan.
Best place in the world.
Yes, it is. Enjoy a few Pilsner for me.
What a great guy. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. Could have talked to Kimby for another hour. So you bet your ass he'll be back on the show. Just another great Sasky guy coming on World Hockey Report. Not a big deal. I'd like to thank our great sponsors once again. Hope you're all supporting them as well. MyBookie.ag, use promo code 12ounce sports. Wits Nutrition and Performance for all the best workout and meal plans. 69-degree golf for the best wedge you'll ever have in the bag. And hey, we got a couple new partners coming on board very soon, so be on the lookout for Rampage Coffee and Cocoa Vodka and Rum. It's been another episode of World Hockey Report. Former Blue King, Flyer, and Hawk Roman Vopot's on next week's show. Pete's Power Plays is up next on 12-ounce sports. And I'll be joining him tomorrow. What's up? See you next week. Same time, same place. Cody Jansen, World Hockey Report. Peace out.